Fathers, mothers, sisters, and brothers, welcome to another episode of Bad Catholic Dads. This is episode 1, Hellbent on Lent, and I am one of your hosts, Derek Rogers, along with my partner in crime, Mr. March Madness himself, John Perez. How you doing, John?
Dude, how's it going, man? Episode 1.
That's right. After the pilot,
we have
first
episode
official.
1. Yeah.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
Very
We're still
exciting.
here, man. We're still
Very
here.
exciting. If you're here after the pilot, thank you and welcome back.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You can follow us on any kind of social media thing that's out there. You can listen to this on SoundCloud. You can listen to this on YouTube. You can listen to this whatever. And we're going to be telling you all those specific spots at the end. But John, I want to start off because this is happening after St. Patrick's Day and everything. How was your St. Patrick's Day?
You know, it's before we get into how was my St. Patrick's Day, the funniest part is that actually, like, we're kind of like dating ourselves in a way where this episode's not supposed to come out for a couple weeks. We're like we're actually banking episodes, and which is a lot of what podcasts do. And so this episode will be probably posted in like next week, probably, which is like a week after St. Patrick's Day. So it'll be, everyone will be like, wait, this wasn't St. Patrick's Day last week? You know what I mean? But anyway, St. Patrick's Day was awesome. We got the dispensation. Is that the correct term for it?
Yep.
From our bishop, and many other dioceses got it, of course. So we got to eat meat, of course, on Friday, which was really interesting. I had a friend come over, one of our closest friends, and we picked up our favorite, Derek, Wingstop.
Oh, what kinds?
So we picked up lemon pepper, which is one of our favorites. The
I have not had that one yet.
Which is one of my favorites. And then we got mild because my friend's not really a spicy guy.
Gotcha.
But the mild one, what I did was I had buffalo sauce in my fridge, so I had to spice it up a little bit more. But they have this new sauce, Derek, there. Brand new. It just came in this past week, they were telling us, called Brazilian... what's it called?
Oh, I saw that.
Brazilian something. Huh? Oh, Brazilian citrus pepper.
That's right. It's a dry rub, right?
It's a dry rub, and it is very, very good. Very good.
See, like, I'm about the saucy wings, man. Is it okay as a dry rub?
Yeah, I think dry rubs are fine. Like lemon pepper's a dry rub, and it's just very good. And the thing about the Brazilian citrus wings is that we didn't want to order a whole order of them because we didn't know if we were going to like them. So we just ordered 4.
4 wings.
4. And we were like, we should order the whole thing. It was very good.
It was very good. All right.
But the thing is, like, even though you don't like sauce wings, you got to give the dry rub a little bit of a chance there, because dry rubs are very good in their own route, I would say.
I'll have to try. I think that's what's kept us away from doing the lemon pepper as well, where that's the drier one.
Makes a lot of sense.
They had a few weeks back. They had another sauce that they had. It was the spicy Korean sauce.
Have you tried it?
Yes, that was really good. My wife really enjoyed that one too.
Okay, one day, actually, if we ever all get together again, our families, I've got to take you to this legit Korean fried chicken spot, and it's called Bonchon. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Yes, we just had one that opened up out here in Manassas.
Yeah,
and I had it one time. My friend, another John, he was like, "You got to try this place if you like spicy chicken," and it was really good. I really liked it.
Yeah, the soy garlic wings. The spicy wings are good, but the soy garlic ones, which aren't even that hot, are really good. So I'm glad you had it before, but it's a little bit more authentic than Wingstop's spicy Korean, which I haven't had yet. I'm excited to try it one day, but
they sadly removed it. We were gonna go order some a little while back, and it was like, oh, it's already gone. When we were, I think it was after we saw Logan in the theaters, we went to go get wings, and we're like hoping that was there, and it wasn't. They had the Brazilian one, but we were just like, we're gonna just get the mango habanero and the hot ones.
The mango habanero.
Yeah.
And then we hung out and we drank some Jameson. It's actually their new cask makes. Have you ever seen it?
I have not had that.
So we've been seeing the commercials like a lot. I don't know if you've seen the commercials a lot. It's obviously the same old. You like Jameson? I love Jameson. It's one of our favorites. Yeah,
Jameson is ideal. It is very expensive, at least for me.
Of course it is. Yeah, it's
but it
pricey.
is amazing. Yes,
it is. So Castmates, you have to try it because It's basically the Irish whiskey brewed in a stout beer barrel. So they distill it in a stout beer barrel, with a bunch of flavors, obviously, and of course the beer. And we were having it for the first time yesterday, and we both never had it.
Yeah,
and it is super smooth. And because some
it's got a bite to
when you
it
drink
sometimes.
liquor, it's got a bite to it, right? Like the aftertaste. But then when we drank it, we both looked at each other. We were like, "Wow, that is so so smooth. It's really smooth. There's no bite to it." Which could be dangerous in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Because at least that bite kind of keeps you on your toes. So we both just had a glass of it. We're getting old, but it was very, very good. I like it. I'm definitely a fan.
For that St. Patrick's Day, it was so funny. We woke up and the kids right away were like, they were like pointing out the window, and they're like, "Look, Daddy, in our glass window for our sliding door, there was a dead mouse right there."
That's right. I saw your picture.
Yeah, the cat left it there, and we were just laughing like, "Oh, the cat's reminding us that we can eat meat today."
Oh
and
my gosh, that's so funny.
my daughter,
you guys have a cat?
Yeah, it's like it was like a stray cat, but the neighbors next door, they were like, "Oh, this is a stray cat." It was going back and forth to the houses, and
I didn't know you had a cat. Yeah.
What they did is they ended up like neutering it and giving it flea shots and doing all this stuff. And they're like, "But we can't have it in our house because our cats and our dogs attack it." So the cat just like goes back and forth. It's like separated parents or something like that, where it'll go to our house and their house. And so it comes inside here. The cat is so great with our kids. My daughter, though, after it saw this destroyed mouse, she was yelled at the cat. She's like, "Bad cat.
Oh my
goodness.
Which daughter?
Avila." She's like, "You killed a dead mouse."
Oh
and
my goodness.
It was so funny. But so I had to go and do the dad duty of burying the corpse. We had a little prayer session above it.
Did you have to explain it,
well,
like
they kind of knew, but they were
stuff like that?
We were saying our prayers together. I'm like, "So who wants to say some prayers for the mouse?" And
right.
Katiri's like, "I don't know what to say," and Avila's like, "I pray that the mouse gets better."
Oh my
and
goodness,
I'm like,
that's
"Oh,
so
well,
funny.
I don't know." So I took the snow shovel and we it had a little impromptu burial. So
right, very cool.
Then
other than that, how was your guys' St. Patrick's Day?
It was good. We went directly to Krispy Kreme for the green donuts.
Oh, nice.
And then we bought a dozen of them. My family, we ate the 1 dozen of them, and we kept the extra dozen just for. It's great to have some backup ones at home when you need some donuts. And then it was right before lunch, so right after we went Krispy Kreme, we went right to Arby's. It's like right next door. So this is the second time we've done it. We've done the meal before the meal is donuts, and then you go to Arby's, and then you have some roast beef sandwiches. It's a really weird combo, but it's now starting to become a tradition for us. I don't know what is wrong with us. But as far as celebration goes, that was it for me because my Lent has kind of limited me on that aspect. We listened to Irish music around the house, and we had green balloons.
You guys have some Irish blood in your family, no?
No, my family, the Rogers side, none. We are Polish, Hungarian,
cool.
English, and my wife, who's Hispanic, she has more Irish in her genes. So that's
right.
really
I feel
strange.
Like we've had this conversation before.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
So my kids, though, my wife always gets them hyped up for any kind of saint's feast day, and it's always this big deal. So she does a great job with that. That was the kind of day. We did have our meat that day, and that's what happened. But I think you saw some of it. That I went on Twitter because we're going to be talking about stuff that we gave up for Lent and why we do it.
Right.
But when I was going over Twitter, we were just getting stuff ready for Bad Catholic Dads, and I was like looking at mine. Matt Walsh, I think some of the viewers probably would know him. He's a conservative, a Christian guy. He always posts these things and usually gets a lot of responses. He wrote a tweet saying, "Thank God for St. Patrick's Day dispensation. Am I right, Catholics?" And I'm like, and he always says these things very like kind of tongue in cheekly where you don't, it could be taken one way or the other.
Well,
and
it's 2017, so anyone's going to get offended.
Yeah. So I was just like, for some reason I just felt called to just read some of the comments. And
that's the rabbit hole.
Some of them though were really good. They're like, some people were saying, like, I'm so glad because I'm just tired of having like seafood every time for Fridays, and stuff like that.
So funny.
And then this one girl, she was like, she said, I can't even believe it's a thing. Is there really only one day when these Catholics can eat corned beef?
I saw that.
Unreal.
I saw that.
Yeah. So what happened was I just felt moved to just kind of have a conversation with her on Twitter. And it was a good conversation that we had because no one was attacking each other.
Good.
And
that's rare.
And it is really rare. And then,
unfortunately.
Yeah. But
unfortunately.
I think that's the time and age that we have to kind of approach things a little bit different, like without being attacking.
Totally agree.
Rather than asking like, well, what's your problem? Why do you hate cat? It wasn't anything like that. And I was just explaining like, oh, it's a feast day. And she's like, I understand that. And, I was like, I told her it was just a perk celebration for this feast day where you can do that. And I told her, I was like, I hate corned beef. I can't stand corned beef. And I was just saying, I'm like, it's really sad how a lot of Catholics are getting just absolutely blasted and obliterated drinking alcohol on this day. I mean, I don't know if that's how it should be.
I don't even think it's Catholics. I think it's just like Americans.
Oh, it is Americans.
It's like an excuse.
It's a lot of these holidays that we have kind of have done that.
There's a theme in America about that.
The one thing that I pointed out
everywhere.
I was pointing out, I just said like, because this is something that the bishop said, because a lot of people are like, oh,
right.
Catholics can make up rules as they go. But I mentioned to her, I was like, Catholics are still encouraged to compensate for this exemption by participating in an act of charity and penance. And, where she's like, well, I hope that people are actually doing that. And I was reminding her that, hey, we're all in our own battle, and all we can do is the best we can do, and we can pray for the others. So she agreed, and she said, I hope you have a blessed St. Patrick's Day. And then
that's awesome.
We tip of the hat, and then we went on, and that was...
We'll have to pray for this lady. This is awesome. That's awesome. That
so we can pray specifically for Carrie. Carrie, we're gonna pray for you.
I'm praying for you.
But I think that's the thing where we need to be really loving and have a conversation rather than really pointing fingers. Like I think it's good to just so people know what our viewpoints are.
Sure.
So
I think. Well, I was just gonna add one last thing, because to be honest with you, like I guess like this week has been pretty like kind of emotional for me, but not like in a personal way, more of in one of my favorite outspoken, I guess you call them, internet what do you call them?
Celebrities,
personalities.
Personalities
is the better word for it. Yeah. And he made a joke on the internet, right? Like, okay, like probably not one of the best jokes, but still like not even a terrible joke, right? A tongue-in-cheek joke. And he got obliterated for it, right?
Yeah.
And, I think this could be another topic, for another time. But it's just the fact that people it wasn't even about the joke at one point. It's more of people just like dogpiling on, this, I guess you call it scapegoating or witch hunting, of sorts. And I think part of the problem is that a lot of people are just looking for a reason to get mad at someone or to basically crap on someone on the internet. And I think part of it's 2017 and people are so sensitive about everything. And I think that we all just need to take a step back and just have conversations with people, like decent conversations because people are so quick to just jump right at the gun.
Yeah, I think one of those reasons why social media is very difficult now too is
context too.
It's context. It's context and tone. Exactly. Because when you're talking with someone, they'll know that you're not being aggressive in the way you're saying it. But when you read it in that vacuum, it's like, I don't know how you're coming about this. Yeah, and I have Catholic friends that are just they'll write things and they'll kind of just shoot down other Catholics that are trying to do something, or they'll be like, well, why don't you put money towards this instead, like a charity? And it's like, it's like we are so quick to cut each other down on social medias. And that's one of the things I gave up for Lent was Facebook. That's where I was getting into like a lot of stuff with people, and it would make me feel a little bit overwhelmed or like not anxious, but just not as peaceful as I wanted for Lent. And so, that was one of the things that I gave up. And the other thing was,
Are we getting into it?
Yeah.
Are we getting
let's just get into it.
What is our topic called today, Derek? You're leading this show.
As stated at the very top of this episode, was hell-bent on Lent. And we're going to...
What does that mean?
We're going to look a little bit more on why some Catholics are either very aggressive for Lent, and whether it's good or not to kind of teach this for our kids to give up stuff for Lent.
Sure.
And, what kind of ways that you and I, we've been brought up celebrating Lent and practicing things. So that was one of the things that I think would be fun to talk about. When this podcast goes out, it's still going to be Lent.
It is going to be Lent. I think the last week of Lent, right?
I think it's the 5th week of Lent, because the gospel that's upcoming to that is when Lazarus gets raised out of the tomb. So it's
By the way, we went to Mass today.
Yeah.
Gospel for today. The Samaritan woman at the well.
Yep.
One of my favorite gospels of all time.
One of my
favorite gospel readings of all time. I love that reading. But I feel like I want to do a topic on that another time. It's so good.
That's right. The first reading is about Moses and saying, like, the people are going to be killing me. Like, God, why are you going to keep pushing me like this? The people are going to kill me. And that one's, and then he struck the rod on the rocks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. It's a good tandem. And then the one is hoping in the Lord is the second reading. I would get to go to Mass and hear that one. That one is really good. I love the Lenten readings. It helps you along so much.
Oh yeah. Good. Dude, before we get really into it, speaking of, because you reminded me, we're talking about Mass. Don't you play music for Mass? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Your guitar.
Yep.
What happened?
Oh my! For the listeners that don't, I was down in my. It's kind of like the man cave that I have. It's like this little closet room, and I had my guitar on the side, and it was propped up on something. And my daughter Evelyn and my son Blaze came down, and
my goodness!
All I heard was the bump, and I couldn't reach it, and it was that slam.
No.
For anyone that's a guitar player out there, that sickening sound of when a guitar hits face first on the ground. It blew the head apart, so it's snapped.
How long have you had this guitar?
This is my baby guitar. This is my first guitar that I had as a teenager.
Man.
This is what I learned everything on.
I got you.
It's been through it. When I was doing some mission trip stuff, it's a guitar that got broken a little bit too when a kid jumped on top of it. So it's seen its time. But you know what? It's character marks. I'm gonna wood glue it. I'm gonna put some clamps on it. We're gonna be back and running in no time.
Really? I was just gonna say it's time to get your Taylor or your Martin.
I keep that one locked up safe. That's my performance guitar.
Or it's trying to. Okay, so this one's more of your like everyday use.
Yeah. But this is the
Taylor.
one.
You have a Taylor, right?
Yep, I have a Taylor.
Oh man,
this is
so nice.
The guitar that broke though is our theme song guitar. This is all the guitar parts on our theme song was played on that guitar.
Well, I guess you have to redo on your Taylor so it can sound a little bit.
I know exactly.
Sounds good. Anyway, back to Lent.
Yeah, so back to Lent. We kicked off Ash Wednesday when we started with this reading, and this is going to go into our topic. The gospel was when Jesus said to his disciples, it's from the gospel according to Matthew, and he said, "Take care not to perform righteous deeds in order that people may see them. Otherwise you will have no recompense from your heavenly Father." And then that's the one where it's like, when you give alms, don't blow a trumpet. When you're giving alms, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. All that.
Like you're like pale or what I mean.
And when you pray, and such and so forth. When you pray, do not be like the hypocrites. And I saw some people at the beginning of Lent posting things like, "Oh, why are people talking about what they're giving up for Lent?" And should we even talk about this? Do you like? I'll give my thought on like why we should talk about it.
Sure.
The one thing that I really feel like, there's some things that personally you're going to be giving up for Lent that you're not going to be talked to. Possibly it's going to be something that's helping you out of an addiction, and you're not going to be wanting to share with people like your own private stuff that's going on.
Your own battles. Your own personal battles.
And the things that are specifically keeping you from God. There's some things that you're going to keep quiet. But there's other things that I feel like we can learn from people and possibly motivate us to even try harder in our growth. So like the one thing my wife gave up Facebook as well. And, we were just, you tell everyone before you go Facebook, see you later at the end of Lent, I'm going to be gone for a while. That's important sometimes because my wife's family's in California. And sadly, because my wife isn't on Facebook during this Lent, she didn't know her mother went into surgery for something because that's where it was posted. And
wow.
So it's
Isn't
very
that funny though. Like,
yeah, it's weird.
We get all our news and all our updates through Facebook. Which is really interesting.
So that's in case if like sometimes it's to let people know like, hey, I'm not going to be on the main thing that you try to get in contact with me. I'm going to be gone. So that was like a reason for that. And I think it's good too for people to kind of be aware sometimes, just so other people, like when I started giving up stuff for Lent, it was stuff that did not challenge me. And when I heard of other people giving it up, I'm like, I'm going to try a little bit harder. So that was the thing. This year, I gave up water. I mean, I gave up everything but water. I
gave up water.
Yeah, I gave up water. It's just straight alcohol the whole time. I'm completely lit right now. No, I've been just drinking water. I've never done anything like that. I have drank soda so much during my life. I mean, I started as a pop drinker because I grew up north, so we called it pop. Yeah. And I would drink pop all the time. Now I'm in Virginia and I call it soda. And I would drink that all the time. It'd be Mountain Dew, energy drinks. I would juice, all this stuff with sugar. And
that's so interesting.
I wanted to give up something that was going to be challenging for me, that I can just focus on the simpler things. So that's why I got rid of Facebook, and I'm drinking water and adding some spiritual reading stuff. But those things, so far I've seen just a difference where it wasn't as difficult as I thought at first, because I was getting prepared for it before Lent. Generally, I would be like someone that would add stuff during Lent. Like I wouldn't be really clear, like right at Ash Wednesday, what I wanted to give up for Lent. It would be sometimes like it would be an evolution, like a weekend, like actually I'm going to give up this, and then you kind of work it. So now I was really focused. That first week of water, I told my wife, I'm like, honey, I'm expecting to be blacking out. Just hide the children from me, lock me in a room. Don't let me out. Don't let me out under any circumstances until the fever dreams leave. But I thought I was going to be getting headaches from caffeine addiction, no coffee or anything like that. And
would you call it like an addiction or sorts? Or could you ever just drink water? You know what I mean? Like,
I would drink. I would drink water, but to me it didn't taste that good. And then, I was curious. I'm like, is it an addiction? Is it one? Because I'm going to see what happens this first week, how I feel. And I didn't feel any effects at all. And I've been enjoying having water, and that's been going really good. But I thought there was going to be a lot more crying on my end, but it didn't happen. So I've been happy thus far. That has. Good. So what about you? Anything that you can share with us?
It's super interesting, and it's kind of personal, but let me just say this, like, I get it. Like when I heard those readings, I've always heard those readings my entire life, but and I can't wait to talk about my faith journey, because I feel like, because my faith journey really, it began, growing up, but it really got serious when I got to college. Mm-hmm. And so like I'm a cradle Catholic, so at times I'm guilty of just kind of going through the motions, especially growing up. You know what I mean? Like my family always went to mass, and it always felt like I have to go to mass because my parents are taking me to mass. I have no choice. Yeah. And in college is when I really got serious about my faith, and I what was I gonna say? And then I heard the reading, of course, the reading of we shouldn't pray and go to your bedroom, lock the door, and pray, in silence. Don't go out in the streets. Don't proclaim don't be a hypocrite, basically. Mm-hmm. And to me, and this is just kind of my opinion on it, on that reading. There's a time and place, of course. I feel like praying in your bedroom, quote unquote, is a great thing. I think, but then there's also a place like this podcast, right? Like this podcast isn't praying in our bedroom, right? Mm-hmm. This podcast hopefully can give, through the Holy Spirit and through God's guidance and his overall will for this podcast, I guess you would call it. It's a way of just giving support to those who need it or want to hear it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And even proclaiming, which is kind of a weird word to say, proclaiming your Lenten sacrifices on Facebook, I think is a great thing, kind of at some points. Now, I do have a lot of Catholic friends who just, I'm giving up this for Lent just because, not really, replacing it with prayer, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a teacher in school, and one of the things we gave up as a class was that every Friday, I picked Friday because it is supposed to be the most penitential day of the week during Lent, of course. And every Friday we would give up our first 5 minutes of recess and pray a decade of the Rosary as a class.
That's awesome.
And one of the things I told them was that, yeah, we could give up something, right? Like we can give up something and we could just do it and that'd be it. But I think one of the most important parts is that we need to replace that with some sort of prayer. Right?
Absolutely.
Because if we're just giving up something just to give up for it, I think that's even worse than not giving up anything.
Oh yeah.
At times, you know. And so for me, on Facebook, or if you're going to basically, you know, say what you're giving up on Lent on social media, I think that's a great thing sometimes, because I think a lot of people love to join in the conversation. Like, oh yeah, like Lent, I'm supposed to give up something, right?
Yeah.
Get the conversation going.
A good reminder too, yeah.
Exactly. It's a reminder too. Like I saw a lot of people like on my Facebook feed being like, I'm giving this up for Lent, and then people would just join in like, I'm giving this up for Lent.
Yeah.
That's great, you know. But obviously we gotta get into the prayer thing too.
It's really good though that you have, you know, there's this kind of community there with people like, okay, you may be struggling, but to other, you know, you're going to be quote unquote suffering, I guess, as much as you're going to be giving up something, but you have other people that are going to be too. And there's kind of that strength with that, you know, kind of like empowers you, just like, I can do this. If this person's doing that, I can do this. And to tag off what you were saying, on Facebook, I had said like, you know, is there any pointers anyone has for me to be just drinking water? You know, it sounded so stupid, but it was so helpful. I did everything, the main things that people said. They're like, get one of those Brita clear water filter things, pitchers, put it out there. Also get a water bottle, like a Brita thing. I did all that stuff. Like the next day, because I got that information, I'm like, oh, these are good ideas, because I was just going to be drinking out of the tap. And they're like, always bring it with you, make it a habit. And that stuff helped me become like a better person in a way during Lent, because
you have to get rid of the caffeine in your house a little bit.
No, or? You know, I tried to. That Fat Tuesday, I was drinking, trying to kill all the soda. We had a lot of alcohol. I was just trying to. I'm like, I got to drink it because it's going to be a temptation. But I couldn't.
Tuesday.
I couldn't do it. And sitting in our refrigerator, when you open the left door, we have the can holders that go up the door, and there are, I think, 5 Yinglings sitting in there, and one classic Coca-Cola glass bottle that is filled, and they're there, and they're a reminder every time when I open it up, like, oh my gosh. And those look beautiful to me, but I have to keep, you know, the focus. And
Easter's going to be a great day.
Yeah, it's going to be a joyful day where we get to say the A word and the H word. You know, that's going to be.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, where people can jump in and help, you know, discuss about that.
And I think that's great. You know, to a certain extent. But for me, Lent. So over the past couple of years, I've been more of a proponent. Is that the correct word? Like advocate?
Yes.
I guess you would call it.
Yep.
I've been more of an advocate instead of giving up things, taking on things. Because I think that's also a very legit way of going through Lent, right? Like, you know, we can all give up things, and that's great. But I think taking on things would be a little bit tougher.
I agree. My with
in some parts, not everything, right?
With youth ministry for the high schoolers, we had a talk on Lent. And the one thing that I was challenging to do, there was 3 areas, which is along the same thing, was you add something for Lent, whether it be you add on prayer, or, you know, just add on just certain things that are going to help you spiritually.
Prayer,
Thanksgiving. Yeah, and prayer.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Prayer. We didn't even talk about that. Like
prayer.
Well, Lent, prayer, Thanksgiving, and Almsgiving, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. And what I told him was like, the 3 things we're gonna be, you can add something for Lent, you can take something away, which is what we're used to. With fasting, that's what it is: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving.
Oh,
that's
did
what
we
it
say
is.
Thanksgiving? I
was when you were saying that, I'm like, wait, there's another
that didn't
word.
Sound correct. Yeah, I was
prayer,
like, wait a minute, that does not sound correct. Yeah,
and almsgiving.
All the Catholics are like, well, this is not a legit podcast.
It's okay.
Bye.
It got corrected.
It did get corrected. And if you stayed with us.
So the 2 things. So it's adding, subtracting, and the last one is amplifying, which I was telling them. So
I like that. I've actually never thought of that. That's great.
The challenge is because Lent shouldn't be all about like, oh, we got to take away and break down. It should be highlighting aspects of your personality or something that you do and bringing it forth in a stronger way, to amplify being nice to neighbors, to, you know, reaching out to helping your parents, you know, something like that. Maybe if you're a musician, you start playing more, but play more worship music, but really amplifying. So that was like the one challenge that I had for the high schoolers. So yeah, along with that, I agree. Lately, as I've matured more, it's like bring in the spiritual reading. You know, I'm reading Everlasting Man right now, which is a Chesterton book. And then for the final Holy Week. My wife suggested that I read the Silence book, so I'm going to be picking that up for Holy Week and adding that.
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet either. I was just going to read it first.
I thought you saw it.
No,
I thought you saw
it was removed from theaters before I could catch on to that one.
I mean, maybe. Well, was the Hacksaw Ridge that you saw in theaters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We just saw that a month ago or whatever. Whenever it came out on digital HD.
Yeah. And that's another great Lenten. That's a great Lenten movie. It's this really just listening for the voice of God and all these things, and it's tough to hear him sometimes. You have all these temptations, and you're like can't hear it, and it's
that's Andrew Garfield killing it.
He is
actually for Silence. Andrew Garfield went to a Jesuit silent retreat, the spiritual exercises, right, by Saint Ignatius of Loyola, which I don't know if you ever done a silent retreat, or I don't know if you ever done the spiritual exercises, Derek.
No, I have not.
I used to go to a spiritual exercise retreat the past couple of years. I haven't done it in a couple of years, but it is really awesome. We're silent the whole time, a lot of prayer, but a lot of guidance by Saint Ignatius in his spiritual exercise, and also the Holy Spirit, of course. But it is a fantastic
I would love to do that at some point. Yeah, that does sound
great. It's really great.
So I mean, the question with Lent stuff, just for fun, as a kid growing up, what did you think about Lent and the traditions and practices? And did your family do specific things for it?
Yeah, it's interesting because
how many kids are in your family?
So I have two younger brothers, so it's the three of us. My younger brother is we're each 2 years apart.
Okay.
So, my younger brother is 25.
Okay.
And the youngest brother just graduated college. He's about 22, 23.
Okay, cool.
It's funny growing up. Like I said in the beginning of the podcast, we were very cradle Catholics. And I don't think my family was that spiritual in terms of we would practice. Oh, not practice. We would pray together. We didn't really pray together as a family that much. Obviously, we'd pray together, but not like a regular thing. Kind of like what we do now, where we just have family prayer time. And so whenever Lent came around, it was more about we all kind of just knew we were supposed to be penitential, and we were supposed to fast on Fridays from meat and stuff like that. So that's really the extent of it. Like I said, growing up, I love my mom and dad because they did instill the faith in me at a very young age, which is a gift I will never be able to repay back, right? And it's great, but my parents were more of the parents who led through example than through, guys, let's do this, right? My dad was talking about my dad, and I'm sure we're going to talk about our dads, being a father podcast, obviously. My dad was the type of guy who would just lead through example. He was a man of very few words. He still is a man of few words. And so his prayer life was very inward. Sounds like a little selfish, but it was kind of inward in terms of I remember one time, which is one of my favorite memories of my dad. I remember I fell asleep on the couch and I woke up because I heard some noise or something, and I noticed that every day before my dad leaves, we have this shrine, I guess you would call it, at our house.
Just like an area of devotion?
Yeah, it's kind of like an area of devotion with a big Jesus statue and Mother Mary statue. And he would always, before he went to work, because my dad was in the military for 25 years, he would always kneel down in silence and prayer, before he would go to work. And I never knew that. All the years I knew my dad. And I would just I woke up and I just kind of caught a glimpse of it before passing back out.
That's awesome.
And so that is my dad, you know what I mean? In terms of his prayer life.
I mean, it's exactly what we were talking about with that
for me.
Reading, so, with the, it's
exactly. And so Lent for us wasn't this, guys, let's all give up something as a family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was more of just, we all kind of just knew, my parents led through example, that we prayed together. We went to mass together, and on Fridays my mom never failed. She would always have salmon out or some kind of fish. But yeah, that was really the extent of kind of my growing up. How about you?
For us, it was the same thing. Growing up, it was that during Lent, you don't have any meat on Fridays, and that was difficult. My mom, God bless her, she would make the worst food in the world, and she
my
knows
gosh,
this.
that's so funny.
They're called salmon patties.
Yeah.
They were disgusting.
That does not sound good.
It was terrible, and it would be always an epic showdown at our table with these salmon patties during Lent. It was terrible. We'd always be hoping we'd have fish sticks, but it usually wasn't that.
Oh yeah, we had that.
Oh.
You know where else we went on Fridays? We went to McDonald's and got a fillet of fish.
Oh, see, I can't do that. I can't do seafood. I mean, I shrimp and stuff. I can't.
You can't even do like fried seafood.
You know, I tried it. We had some Thai food
I'm
the other day.
Same way.
We ordered at our work. We ordered some Thai food, and it was supposed to be chicken coming in, and I took a bite. I'm like, it's fish, but it was, I got through it. I did. It's just I do not like the texture, and unless it's cooked really, really well, I don't like fishy tasting food. So
I got you. I'm with you because I actually hate seafood as well, and I'm actually allergic to shellfish.
Oh gosh. So
I can't even have like lobster or crab or anything like that because
shrimp. Can you do shrimp?
I can do shrimp, yes.
Okay.
But it has to be like popcorn shrimp.
Yeah. And the other things during Lent, as a kid, I did not like Ash Wednesday. Something about it. I hated getting that on my face. I don't know what it was. Like now it's like no big deal. But when I was a kid, I hated it. And then the same thing, I was an altar server, washing of the feet. When we were altar servers, my mom would volunteer us all the time to have our feet washed, or we would be washing feet at church. And it was like, I hated that.
Yeah.
It was tough. And that was a sacrifice. I never was able to give up altar serving because, my mom was like, you got to altar serve. And I'm very thankful now that she made me do it. But at the time, I hated it.
One of my favorite memories of Ash Wednesday is I played basketball growing up pretty seriously. I played travel. I played AAU. I played on my high school team. And 1 year I had to miss practice. I had to miss like an hour of practice because Ash Wednesday service was going on. And I got my ashes and I showed up to practice with my ashes.
Yes.
And I felt pretty proud. It was awesome.
Dude, good for you. Like, it takes a good person to have that kind of feeling. I mean, I know watching SportsCenter, when I see some of the guys, like the guy that hosts, I don't remember. It's the one where they give points to the four people.
Yes. Oh man. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. He's
Anyways,
an Italian guy.
Yeah. When I saw him having his ashes on
he had
Ash
an
Wednesday
article recently, right?
Did he? I don't know. I did not.
Google it. He literally. Why did I say that? He just came out with an article on why he shows up to a show with the ashes on his forehead, and I think actually I think the article's part of the reason why he doesn't do it anymore. But it's a pretty good article. You got to read it.
I just remember when I saw that the one time, it was a few years back when he did that, I was like, dude, that's inspirational. He doesn't care, and there's like a beauty to that. Like, I'm not caring what the contemporary world is thinking about me and the way I look with ashes on my head, and that is very inspiring to me to see that. And again, when I see people wearing the ashes, like now, it's like I feel this pride kind of thing where I'm like, I can be called to something better, than my own worries of like what so and so thinks of me. It's more than that. And so again, that was something that it took me a long time to get through, like Lent. And my dad, my mom, it was always my mom was like, we're doing this. We're going to, we would go to every mass, and it was daily mass during Lent. Early morning mass. We were homeschooled at one point, and
that's right.
So it was every day, and we were altar servers. We would just alternate days of altar serving. It was tough.
During daily mass.
Yeah. And it was just like, it was crazy. And then as a kid, I didn't know anything about that possible Sunday retreat where you can have the things you give up for Lent. I don't know, it wasn't ignorant Catholics. I guess ignorance is bliss sometimes, but we just didn't, know about like some of those teachings where it's like, Sunday's a day where you can, celebrate and you can have.
Of course, we're talking about the 40 days of Lent, Sunday not counting.
Exactly.
Sunday is really supposed to be a glorious celebration. It's supposed to be the Easter of, it's supposed to be Easter.
Exactly.
Sunday, right.
And so I didn't.
In the Catholic calendar, it doesn't count towards Lent. Is that correct? Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. And it wasn't until I went to a Catholic college where I learned. They're like, "Oh no, dude, you can." I
agree.
What?
I agree. I'm in the same boat as you.
And I was shocked. But my brothers and I, no one will shake from that. You start on Ash Wednesday. This is what we do, and I'm not saying everyone needs to do this.
Right.
You start on Ash Wednesday, and you maintain all the way to Easter. And that's what we've always done, and that's what I've continued to do. Is that what you do?
It's what I used to do. It just depends on like what it depends on your Lenten sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think
mean?
that's a big part of it too.
Because I think the beauty in going all the way through and not doing it on Sundays is that your Holy Week and your Easter really becomes even more intensified.
Yeah.
To a point where you kind of get not gratification, but more of like this feeling that like
this exuberance.
This exuberance that it strengthens your resolve, your will. Throughout the 40 days.
And that's one of the reasons that we don't sing, say the A word or H word, whatever you want to say during Lent. It's that you want to have that exuberance on Easter.
Exactly.
Which is, it's just an interesting viewpoint. It's like people will enjoy the things that they've been fasting from on Sundays, but at the same time, we're abstaining from saying certain words at Mass, So it's a very interesting thing. And I think either way, I think is beautiful for people. Some people need to have that. I think I personally need to have that challenge of like with this water thing, I'm going all the way. And, like Jesus, I don't know if he found an oasis every, 7 days where he could, in the desert. I don't know if that happened where he could sit back and relax. So it's, and the things that I'm offering up is nothing compared to the sufferings of Christ and the martyrs of the church. Nothing definitely. Is like that. So it's like, I feel like for me personally, that's the thing is like, I can do that little bit extra. And that's something that's always kept. And and as for my dad is a convert to the faith. And he entered into the Catholic faith when he got married to my mother. So she was definitely the head of our spiritual family, my mom. So my dad was always, he was a good soldier with a lot of stuff, I guess is what I can say for this stuff. So most of my Catholic upbringing was like, you're a kid, you have to do this, you have to serve the church. No one else is altar serving. You need to do this. And it was this thing of need and have to. But I don't know, maybe my dad was doing something similar that your dad did is, I'll find that out someday that he would wake up before church and pray like that. So
really great to see.
So the next question is then, Lent with kids so far. I know yours are young.
Mine's like my son just turned 1 a couple weeks ago, or a month ago tomorrow.
Yeah, that's crazy. Already a year.
I can't believe that. Sometimes
I know.
me and my wife were just talking today. Sometimes we look at our son and we're like, we're still in disbelief. You know what I mean? In terms of just one, we can't believe we have kids. I mean, we're not. I don't think we're at that age, at that point in our lives where we're like, this is it's still an amazing thing to us, that God would place this child in our lives, to take care of. That's pretty crazy. And then 2, we can't believe we're past a year, which is insane.
I know. When you look back at those little baby pictures, even after a year, you're like, oh my gosh, you've grown so much, child.
It feels like he's already grown so much.
Yeah. No, and that's
amazing.
That's what happens. Like we have pictures all around our house with our kids. I'm just like, man, Avril, your hair was so short, and you like didn't have any teeth. It's awesome to keep those pictures around, and I think it's really important for Lent because right now you start thinking about what kind of dad you're going to be for your kids going into Lent.
Sure.
Are you going to be that silent leader type, or are you going to be that outspoken kind of person?
I'll be the hardcore. They say kids aren't supposed to fast and abstain till 14 or something like that. Yeah. No way, buddy. You're starting early. No, I'm just kidding.
But I mean, my kids, we as a family, we sat down and we talked about we're not having desserts after dinner. That's going to be, and so they're aware of that.
I think it's awesome that to teach kids at such at a young age, right? Like, it really just it's profound at times.
Yeah,
that the things that kids will pick up.
Well, exactly.
I mean,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, think about your growing up, right? Like, the things that your parents did that you might have not thought about as a kid, but when you look back now as an adult and you're like, man, I'm really glad my parents did that for me. You know what I mean? Because that really set the example of how to be an awesome
Exactly.
parent.
And now, like, I want to use the stuff that I didn't like during Lent and try to figure out a way that I can present it to my kids that it can be something that they look forward to, or they are realizing that, it's going to be worth it to do this because this is the reason why we're doing it. And I guess a question then for adults then, and we're already answering that. I think
I actually want to know, because again, I have a really young son, and I have a daughter coming any day now, any minute now.
Of this podcast, you could already have this kid.
We'll see. So in our family, me and my wife were talking about, Lent and what we should do as a family. And really all we can do, since our son is so young, is just recommit to daily prayer time, daily family prayer time. Because, these past couple of months have been really busy for us, especially my wife being super pregnant. It's been really hard to get that family prayer time in.
Mm-hmm.
So Lent has been good because it kind of reshapes us. It's kind of with every Catholic, I would say, it's where Lent is a really great time and place where it could really just, it's kind of like a retreat.
Absolutely.
In its own right, where it really just kind of refocuses us on the true presence and the sacrifice of Jesus, right? And what he went through, and his own journey through the desert, and his own, obviously his own Holy Week, or, his passion, I guess you call it, and resurrection, of course. But for us, it's been recommitting to family prayer time. And so as a dad of a young kid, and you have kids who are a little bit older than my kids, right? Although my son will be older than your daughter, your son, your next son, which will be kind of cool.
Yeah.
How did you guys deal with, you have a couple daughters who are a little bit older. How did you guys deal with Lent with your own family? So what any tips you can give me? I think with my son who's going to be growing up.
I think you're spot on. Like for these early years when you're first married, or a few months when you don't have kids or anything, like you do have to commit to practice. And I'm of the mindset that practice doesn't make permanent. I mean, practice makes permanent, not perfect. Right. And so anything, we have to be more virtuous in our practices. And my wife has been amazing because she's the one that has amplified the spirituality inside me, and
agreed.
She's one that instituted, and I was so against this. Like I made fun of it for so long, but this is something that is our practice now. Fridays, all the year, we do not eat meat. And
my wife actually does that too.
Oh, and it's a challenge, man. But it has me more patient, and I guess, and more tempered, and having just a little bit more self-control, because it's like, okay, I'll all of a sudden be like, okay, Fridays, I'm probably not going to eat as happily as I'll want, but this is a good practice. And that's something that we've instituted. And now, because we keep practicing that, our kids see us normally practicing that, and it makes it easy for them. And again,
do they join in, or they're too young?
No, we are like macaroni and cheese on Friday. Cool. Yeah, so we do the same thing. It's not
like you guys can eat meat. It's more of like, we're just not going to eat meat as a family.
And it's just a practice, and every family has that kind of way of like committing to Christ or the church, just a little bit in the way where we can honor him in certain ways. And some families don't feel called to that, and that's absolutely fine. But again, that was something that my wife introduced me to, and I was not a fan of it at first, but being married, you have to make compromises. And I'm like, I will do this. It's yes, honey. Okay, we'll do this. And I'll make jokes every now and then. But it's minuscule for things. If I can offer that up, for some souls in purgatory, that's good for me. Sure. And so for anything with our kids, like going to Ash Wednesday, just bringing them to Mass, sitting in the pews. On Ash Wednesday, we all got our ashes, and my son, I was holding him, and he looked at my forehead, and he's like, whoa, I don't like this. I'm going to go to Mom. And he looked at Mom, and she had the ashes, and he was so worried and confused, and he looked all around, and everyone had him when we were standing in the pew, and he just put his head down on me, and he's like, and I was like, it was so funny and beautiful, because that's awesome. Like, he was freaked out by all the ashes, but he's like, you know what? You're my dad. I got to trust you, and I'm going to snuggle up right here with you. And, so I think as a dad, it's just forging ahead and keeping some of those traditions. I love that idea where you add that decade of the rosary on those Fridays, as a student. Like, that's a cool thing. We try to do our nightly prayers and, have that stuff. We have our Advent traditions that are pretty set in stone. But I think you just keep practicing with them and instill that kind of joy if you can. As a dad, it's tough to be inspiring as a dad for these holy times. My dad is a role model. He wasn't the most spiritual guy, but he was hardworking. And if I can work at being, a spiritual person, I'm going to do that. And the things that I want in my life and the man that I want to be, like, I'm trying to instill that and show that to my children. I'm going to work at it. I'm not a perfect dad by any means, but I'm going to keep working on it. And so that's what I would say. You're on the right path with what you're doing with, your wife and your son. Just keep doing it, and
a lot of some of it is a trial and error, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And there'll be times where it'll be a Friday, I'll be eating meat. I'm like, oh, I forgot, but then I'll be
there.
like, yeah, where it's like, oh,
there.
But thankfully during Lent though, it's like it does feel like a holy time more than it's ever had before.
Sure.
So that's been really good. And so the question is like the things that we're doing, how is this making us better people? Like, is it going to change us after Lent? And some of these things, I know as a kid, I would be like, I'm giving up ice cream for Lent. I would be unchanged, and it would be just
I'm giving up chocolate from.
Oh yeah,
I've done
that was
one.
sweets and stuff like that.
And then when Easter came around or Sundays, bam, I'm like stuffing my face with. So much
gosh,
like,
and that's what my kids did last year. Like same with Halloween, we're just like go to town, keep eating the candy. It's okay if you get sick. Like enjoy this happiness right for now. We just let them at it, and like they just
nice.
And like my family, like everyone would just be robbing out of each other's Easter baskets. It was a fun time, it was a good time, but.
That's a good. Let's get back to it real quick. I guess we're skipping ahead towards Easter, but did you guys ever do like egg hunting? And all
my gosh, like dude! We would have it. So it was a lot like Christmas setup where the Easter Bunny would come and he would actually leave a note.
Oh my goodness!
And the Easter Bunny had the best handwriting. It was very similar to my dad's handwriting. It was the best handwriting I've ever seen. And I was like, but we would wait at the top of the stairs. My mom and dad would go down and be like, oh. Looks like the rabbit left some stuff. And then, we'd come down and we'd go find these plastic eggs all around the house. We would not do it outside because upstate New York, there's usually snow at that time still. But there would be an egg with money in it. And the Easter Bunny, his favorite thing was hiding the Easter baskets in the worst spots. Like the Easter Bunny's goal was to make the children cry. And so if you were the last one, you were made fun of. So the Easter Bunny did such an amazing job hiding the baskets.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing, that's what I want. Like, so
that's cool.
Here's a family now. We do Easter egg hunts outside, living in Virginia. My children have heard the stories of what the Easter Bunny's done to me, and they're like, "Tell the Easter Bunny we're not old enough yet to go looking for our baskets like that."
That's so cute.
But what about you guys?
We had Easter egg hunting at our church after Easter Mass, and there would be like 1 million kids there. And it would just be that was pretty much it. So we never, growing up, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but we never got like Easter gifts. Like my friends always got like Easter gifts or like Easter, like kind of like stocking stuffers in Christmas time. Like we never got like an Easter gift. I don't know if that's a cultural thing because all my like friends got it and I was the only one who like didn't get it. But one of my wife, actually I like love what my wife does and her family does. And I didn't experience this till we started being serious. And me going over there for Easter and stuff like that. My wife's family actually does a really cool thing where after Easter Mass, everyone meets at... So my wife's family, a little background information, is they're very, very close. Every holiday, they're getting together, and they're very close. Where my family isn't as close. My extended family isn't as close. I mean, we're close in terms of... we're all like great together, but it's not like let's go out of our way to make sure we're all together on this holiday. Mm-hmm. Where my wife's family is every holiday, we have to be together, right?
Yeah.
And so what my wife's family does on Easter is really, really cool. I really like it. Is that they all get together, and then the older kids / adults hide the Easter eggs outside in the backyard, and there's like 1 million eggs, dude. There's like 1 million of them. And some of them are filled with $20 bills and dollar bills and candy and stuff like that.
Do you have just random people jumping into?
Hey, I've jumped in. Yeah. Actually, last year was my son's first Easter, and I knew where all the money ones were, and I'm like, James, we're going to get these. So anyway, it's really cool the fact that they all get together and really just make Easter about family, which is really cool.
Well, and that's the cool part too. Is like Lent is that kind of individual journey, but it is awesome when you can tie your family in with it too, with just family practices. And I mean, personally, and I'd be curious on your thoughts on this, I think Lent is such an important time because as a kid, I didn't realize it. No one pointed it out to me. Like giving up something for Lent is giving you the ability to say no to some temptation later on. And it gives you strength,
100%.
And so I really see that as like a way to have temperance and a great practice. Like if you can give up something that's so difficult for you and then add something, maybe that can change your life after Easter, because we're asked to be changed people at Easter. And So the things that we're giving up, it should be challenging enough or spiritual enough where you're like, you want to be a better person. You don't want to be a worse person after it. And I feel like the difficult things that people give up, I think is incredible for them because they're showing that they can say no to temptation and to sin later on. It could help them quit some addiction that they have, further down the line or that they currently have. So I think it's a beautiful thing. Psychologically, I think it's great. It's like just a great practice and a great habit to have. And it is really a beautiful holy time in the church that I did not appreciate as a child.
I'm with you there.
But now in adulthood, I've just a greater respect for it, and I actually started to enjoy it because it's reminding me of this man of God that I'm supposed to be.
Sure. I would even add a little step further is that if this thing you're giving up or taking on or amplifying is doing wonders in your spiritual life, don't let it stop during Lent. You know what I mean? Like let it go even further and if it really helps you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
A lot of people just take Lent, give up their thing, and they're done, and they don't ever come back to it, and then it gets either worse or it just continues on, past Lent, I guess you would call it. And I would say, man, like if this thing is helping you in your spiritual life, keep it going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Derek, drink water past Lent. You know what I'm saying?
And it's these small things that are good for us too. Like if you're doing spiritual reading, you're adding prayer, you're strengthening your life, your spiritual life. If I'm drinking water, I'm like helping my body because I'm not intaking all these bad sugars, for my body, and I'll be able to be more responsive, and just enjoying the things that God gave, like this beautiful water that I have in this brittle bottle that's next to me. So a question for the audience, and we can tell about our favorite thing. Audience, we would love to have you just to know either what you gave up this year if you want to share it, or the craziest thing you ever did or gave up for Lent. I personally, the thing that I added for Lent, which was, it was fun, but it was very difficult, was I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago. I ran 1.5 miles every day for Lent.
Oh, man, that's awesome. I want to do that. And I can't do that anymore.
And I did it, like, even if I was like late at night, I would have an alarm or something, like 11:30 at night, I would still have to go run, even if I forgot. And it was great because I'd have family members come. I'm like, I'm going to be doing my Lenten run. You guys want to come? And it was a great time to just run, with like visitors that I had.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was a really good one because in the beginning I was so out of shape, and all I was to help get me through was thinking of like what Christ was going through, carrying this cross or walking through the desert. And that was like that helped me get through it. But that one was a difficult one. That was definitely the weirdest thing that I've done for Lent. What about you, John?
See, I think I can't, like, ever since college where my faith got pretty serious, I feel like Lent for me nowadays is more in terms of refocusing myself. Kind of taking the time, like I said in the beginning of the show or in the middle of the show, kind of taking the time to take a step back from my personal, like from my life, and really see where I can grow or where I can cut out things. And that's Lent for me nowadays. And so I don't know if, like, I'll share one of my Lenten sacrifices this year, which has been very, very tough for me. And I think it's something that I'm already supposed to be doing. But ever since I moved into this area, so I'm from I'm not from like the deep South, but I'm from the South. I'm from Southern Virginia, basically on the border of North Carolina and Virginia. And down there, people are very nice down there. They're not as nice as people in, like, if you ever go to the deep South, like the bottom of South Carolina and on, people are super nice. Like the Southern comfort, right? Like, as they call it. And moving up here, it's a very fast-paced, very competitive area, and I'm sure you've seen this. Yeah,
nonstop.
So it's gonna be interesting going forward and teaching my kids, like it's a very competitive area, but we still gotta remember, we need to be nice to people. And so one of the things that kind of took me for a shock in this area is the way people drive in this area. And people drive pretty rude, I would say, in the DC area. Like, people are cutting people off all the time. People are like doing even things worse, road rage, yelling, cursing, stuff like that. And slowly I found myself turning into one of these people, Derek.
Dude, the same thing.
Like, seriously, I don't know what it is about this area. I told myself when I moved here that I would never be like that.
It is one of my weaknesses,
Here I am, doing the same thing these people are doing, right? Cutting people off, doing things worse. And then, this Lent came around, and I was like, what is something that, like, I have an attachment to, or that I'm struggling with. And one of those things that I found myself struggling with the most was just being very mean-spirited towards people on the road.
Dude, 100%. I agree with you on this. This is me. You're talking about me too.
To a point where I was like, this has gotten so bad that it's actually gotten unhealthy for my personal life. It's like seeping into my personal life. It's seeping into my patience with my kids, with my wife, with, and part of it has been also the people I talk to. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't cool. And so one of the things I took on was like, anytime someone does something rude to me on the road, or, curses at me, or, cuts me off, is I say a little prayer for them. I don't. And it's been so hard, Derek, but it's been so rewarding. I'm more aware of being charitable towards others. Yes, I guess you can call it that way, right? Yeah. And I know I'm already. And one of the things is like, I know I'm supposed to be like that anyway, but like I'm human and I struggle with that, And so, like, and it's made me a better man for that in terms of like, when someone cuts me off, man, there's like this instinct to like jump down his throat.
Oh yeah, exactly.
In my head, and
how dare they?
Gone.
Yeah,
they're already gone, and it's like, what's the point of even wasting a second of a thought on that person?
No, dude, that's so funny because that's exactly stuff that I've been going through too, and that is really interesting. Yeah, I totally feel you.
It's been super hard, but it's been super rewarding because I feel like I'm a little more charitable, which is great. I'm supposed to be anyway. But my patience and not like jumping down people's throat, and even my family and my son, sometimes I'll get really impatient with them, but I've been way more patient with them. I've been more charitable towards them and other people as well. Like I won't have those judgmental thoughts that come to my mind, when I'm driving. But it's been so hard, right? Like someone will cut me off and I'll be like, you know what? It's cool. I hope you have a great day, and I'll say a little prayer for you. Like imagine me doing that like during a highway drive. Like that's like 30 times. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly.
So this Lent I feel like this Lent was a way for me to refocus, and I'm actually really glad that I caught that because it started to get unhealthy. And so for me, this Lent is going to change, hopefully continue. And it's one of the things where I hope to continue past Lent. I hope I don't revert to that. And, even if I do, hopefully I'll be more aware.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this is really the first time that I'm actually checking myself on that. You know what I mean? Like, I've lived in the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia area for 3 years now. This is my third year living here. And so this is the very first time I've ever checked myself on that. And so I'm so glad that this Lent made me do that.
Yeah. So. I think a lot of men can relate to this kind of thing that you're mentioning.
It's the pride in you and the competitive
it
nature.
Is. It is, and it is difficult. Like, you need that gift of the Holy Spirit, that wisdom to say, like, what is the bigger picture? They might have something that's going on in their life that is really bad compared to mine, and like, traffic lights out here is something that has changed. That aggravates me like crazy. But it feels like this road topic can be another conversation on the podcast. This is great. There's so many things we can talk about. So, definitely. Audience, we're really curious on some of the things that you gave up for Lent, or as a kid, or anything craziest thing. You can shoot us any messages on. On Twitter, on any of the on Facebook, email us at badcatholicdads@gmail.com. Any of these things. John, let's give some shout outs here and talk about where people can find them. I want to, just to the wives, as we've started this thing, shout out to my wife for she's really excited to hear the episodes, and she's like, when can I hear it? And I'm like, well, honey, like we can't let you hear them right now because some of them are being saved up.
Derek. You can let her listen.
No, man, it's got to be just like with the audience too. I'm like, it'll be exciting. No special and I'm telling them, like, we're saving up some because you and I both have kids coming on the way, so we have to start stockpiling some of these. So
we do.
She's really excited and super supportive of it, and she's really happy. So shout out to my wife Bethany.
Yeah. I shout out my wife too. She's been so supportive during this, I guess, podcast ministry, maybe you call it. Or some people call it, but my wife has been very supportive, and she's very excited. I think kind of the same way your wife is. I let her listen to the first 10 seconds.
Nice.
After their intro, and just not to like listen to it, but more of like, hey, check out how awesome this quality is.
Sounds
Derek's
good.
Voice sounds so good,
No, it's looking good.
Shout out to my wife, but yeah.
So all the listeners,
I want to shout out one more person.
Yeah.
shout out to my friend David Schmidt. He wrote this really awesome message for me. He shared on Facebook about bad Catholic dads.
Oh, fantastic.
We need prayers out to him because he's a seminarian in the Diocese of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I just found out that he got assigned to finish up his basically the rest of his his formation / seminary thing in DC at CUA at Catholic University of America. So we'll have to get him on the show to talk about his vocation and his life story because it's very fascinating.
Yeah.
We met in college. We met in college, and we for some reason we just kind of clicked. Like we've always kept in contact even when he moved back to Pittsburgh. And so I remember one of my favorite stories with him is that we were at a conference at a Catholic university conference, and we were both we had to share a bed, and we were both talking about our vocations. And I remember, he's going to theological college, not CUA, in DC, and it was so funny. We talked about vocations, and we were both talking about how we wanted to both go into get married.
Okay.
Because he was reading a book on marriage, and he was like, and then he just mentioned to me like, but I'm open to the priesthood, and I was like, that's interesting. Here we are, 4 years later, and he's finishing up his second year of seminary.
That's great.
So prayers out to him and all the seminarians out there. So,
and to all listeners, thank you so much for listening to us. You can find us we're on YouTube.
We just started that.
Yeah,
Derek?
That's the way I've listened to my podcast before. Shows, it was on YouTube. Yeah. So I love that. So you can check us out there. Where else, John?
You can find us on podcast services around the globe. Not all of them. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. All you have to do is just search up Bad Catholic Dads. Of course, you can find us on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please, we would love just to even continue the conversation past the podcast on those, websites, social media. So.
Anything that you guys say to us is it's just going to be fun for us because it's just going to be exciting to have contact with this outside world here. Anything else, John, before we wrap this up?
You can find us on Patreon if you'd like to support us. With any prayerfully support us. Financially, anything goes to helping out this community, this podcast. We'd really appreciate it. And the last thing I want to say is that, we'll be praying for you guys, the listeners, during this Lenten journey. We're all, because we are all one church, and we're all journeying towards Calvary and the tomb. And so, we hope that you guys have a great Lent, a very penitential Lent, obviously. But we're praying for you, from Bad Catholic Dads.
Yeah, absolutely. So this episode has been Hellbent on Lent, our first episode. We just look forward to be chatting with you in the coming week. So, thank you very much for listening. And just like John said, have a great, fantastic Lent and look forward to this resurrection.
Thank you. All right, guys, till next week.
Have a good one.
All right, pausing it now. Did you get to hear that at the end?